Hey guys, the Flowerwoman is back because the Flowerwoman never goes away. And today I'm going to be talking about Simpsons in light of their terrible Trump parody.
America, no one but me in America.
Simpsons was a groundbreaking phenomenon back when it first aired in 1989, one of a kind, showing a dysfunctional family with Homer, an idiotic alcoholic father, Marge, the long-suffering wife and mother who always sees the best in everyone, Bart, the bratty, troublemaking, skateboarding 10-year-old son, Lisa, the idealistic voice of reason who's also an outcast in school, and Maggie, the baby who never spoke. While absolutely nothing in comparison to what we have now, in the 90s it was a dark, satirical, and straight-up shocking show. Absolutely nothing like it had come out before. Bart shouting, "Eat my shorts," at the clear disrespect the kids showed towards the adults, Homer's complete incompetence at being a father, the fighting that went on in the family. Matt Groening's show was the start to deconstructing the ideal TV family and showing up the darker side to reality, especially for the working class Americans. The incompetence and authoritarian ways of the school system, the exploitation of the blue-collar worker, corruption in the Christian churches, and even more mundane things such as bullying was being dragged out into the light thanks to The Simpsons. These were topics that TV in the 80s generally avoided, and in all the other previous decades showing nothing more than idealistic image of a wholesome middle-class family, which is not bad in of itself, but a balance was needed. The need for something to drag out the darker sides to American society out into the light was there, and that's what Mr. Groening did. Watchdog groups and the late former President George Bush Sr. condemned the show as undermining American values in the family, with the former president declaring his famous or infamous words,
"Strengthen the American family to make American families a lot more like the Waltons and a lot less like the Simpsons."
And yes, the show was very left-wing, especially for its time. However, it makes it different from the other awful sitcoms of today because it was willing to show even the flaws of the more liberal characters such as Lisa, and it was also willing to offend, well, everybody. Something which absolutely no one today would dare to do, much to the destruction of comedy and entertainment as a whole. As well, I have noticed that despite the deconstruction of the family, there were still many of the elements of traditional values being shown. Homer pulling himself together finally and motivating himself to work for the sake of the children. The dynamic between him and Lisa. The dynamic between Marge and Bart. Both parents being complete opposites but making the effort to bond with one another. We need to remember that just because you subvert and show up the flaws in something, you can uphold the goodness and values in the society. The Simpsons was an example of what entertainment should be. Daring, rebellious, shocking but in a good way. Satirize and make commentaries on society, showing both the good and bad ways, while teaching lessons to encourage the good within its audience. That has been completely sanitized and washed away in the sorry state of our entertainment. A topic I can go for hours and hours on, and The Simpsons has been a victim of that very thing. The show is a stark example of what happens when a show goes on for far too long. It becomes nothing more than a parody of itself. All the characters who are mostly stereotypes and so are in themselves rather simple. The personalities aren't very layered or complex, nor do things in the world change much, and that is not a bad thing in of itself. Or stories such as The Simpsons or other long-running shows that have gone really wrong, like the equally yellow SpongeBob SquarePants, these types of stories they want to tell just need a simple cast of characters. The issue I take with today's entertainment as well is not only you can't be edgy and you have to be inoffensive, but also you have to be all complex and serious too. You don't always have to be. However, as with everything, there's always two sides to the coin. You can only do so much with such characters before you end up repeating the same stories. There's only so much of seeing Marge and Homer struggle with their marriage. There's only so many times you can see Bart running into trouble, or Lisa getting beaten down by the reality of the world, or Marge getting a job, or Homer getting another job, etc., etc. Of course, when writers come to that point, they have to do some things. Sometimes it's adding a new character, which of course rarely works, like Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones, or change aspects of the show until it becomes completely unrecognizable, like Doctor Who and Star Wars. Or sometimes it's updating the show to the modern times, which is often hit or miss. We have seen The Simpsons do that in showing the kids using smartphones, but the reason it doesn't work is part of what made the show so great was the fact it took place in the 1990s 1990s America is a representation of American society of that time. Now try to update it to a 2010s aesthetic beats the purpose of the show in that way. Now, with the latest attempt to gain the audience back, which seems to have badly backfired completely, is to straight up pander to the loudest voices, the anti-Trump leftists, and that has proven to be a massive disappointment. Not simply because it offends this right-winger who is sick to death of all the tired, 2016 anti-Trump mumbo-jumbo that's still being shoved down our throats, but rather, The Simpsons was created to be rebellious. As I said earlier in this video, The Simpsons was always more of a left-leaning show, which is not bad enough itself because, free speech. However, it was still anti-authority. It rebelled against the status quo. It rebelled against celebrity culture and the establishment of the time. And now it's pandering to the current establishment. The issue is not new, of course, as The Simpsons started as far back as the late 90s, inserting celebrities in instead of making parodies of those celebrities. And when they did that, they lost the anti-celebrity charm that we all so loved. Well, I wasn't watching The Simpsons then since I was a child, but you know what I mean. But at least they were still somewhat willing to attack the establishment, for example, ripping on NPC university students. Still, that was some weak humor. Now, the writers seem to be so desperate to get the views back, they assume everyone's going to laugh out loud at the same boring Trump jokes, such as his hair and that he's old and gets tired while doing the can-can, and talking about locking him up, which I thought had been finished, but I guess not. But in all seriousness, it's time to put The Simpsons to bed. This show has gone far past its glory day. It jumped the shark far too many times, straight up became a parody of itself. It's time it ended. As cruel as this may sound, but sometimes the best thing that can be done for a show is just to let it end. Every story has a beginning and an end, and it seems many have trouble ending shows, whether it's due to corporate greed, which probably most likely is. But the thing is, every show has a lifespan, and that needs to be respected. Technically, The Simpsons should have ended at around season 10 or 12 at the latest, or at the really latest, the movie, which was actually pretty good. The wonderful, dysfunctional family is sadly no more than a shadow of its former self, if not gone even beyond that. So please, 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 writers, just say goodbye, okay? Thank you. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, and check out the other videos to experience more of the wise words of the Flowerwoman. Now, this is the Flowerwoman, as you know. Now, Flowerwoman out. P.S. I am very much well aware of the fact that Matt Groening had been caught taking trips on Epstein's Lolita Express. That is definitely a conversation for another day.